Hey everyone, this is David Duvack. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you all had a good holiday. Today I'm going to show you how to go about a proper walk-around inspection for your aircraft. Okay, so before each flight, you always begin with a walk-around inspection, and we commonly call this the pre-flight inspection. So the walk-around begins inside the airplane, and what you're inspecting for is, one, there's no obvious signs of issues. Obviously your seats are intact, and obviously your instrumentation is intact. But more importantly, what you're looking for is that everything is turned off as far as electronics, and you're also inspecting documents. So as you see, right there where that plastic sleeve is, there's a set of documents that have to be in place. The airworthiness certificate has to be in place, as well as the registration. If you intend to operate overseas, you need to have an FCC radio permit available. And most importantly, like your cars, you need to have a applicable aircraft manual available for the airplane. And the last piece of document you're looking for is a weight and balance data sheet, which is usually situated at the very end of the book. So those are your documents you're looking for. Of course, you always follow the appropriate checklist, but because we're not intending to fly today, with the weather being winter to state of New Jersey, I'm just going to demonstrate how I do the walk around. The next thing we look for is that we're going to turn on the battery, and we do that by situating like so. And then we're listening for the battery to spool up, and we're listening for any unusual noises. And we check our fuel gauges over here on the sides to make sure that they read something. We don't want them to read empty, but we want them to read what they're supposed to read. And if we're intending to fly, we would inspect our exterior lights, but we're not, so we can let them be for the moment. Then we're going to extend the landing flaps, so we can inspect the flaps. Okay. That takes care of that. Each pre-flight procedure has a flow pattern. Typically, you start on the pilot side, you end on the pilot side, but because we're not intending to fly, I'm going to do it kind of differently. So we always start out around the fuel sump. You have two under each wing of each aircraft, and what we're looking for is getting a sample of fuel, and we're looking for any contaminants, water, or dirt that's in the tank. As you see, the sump is at the lowest position of the tank, so we can catch all the contaminants. All right, now in this cup, you're looking for a proper color, any contaminants, and as a personal habit of mine, I like to smell it to make sure it does smell like the proper fuel that's in the airplane. And then we make our way to the back, first by checking the landing flaps, which is why we extended them. We're looking for play, and we're looking for continuity of the flap tracks and what have you. And then we're going to position ourselves at the back. This is called the fuselage. This is the main body of the airplane. We're looking for any structural issues such as crinkles, gashes, any signs indicating that someone may have hit the airplane, etc. And then coming to the back here is our horizontal stabilizer. This deals with your rear surface controls to enable the airplane to go up and down in flight. What we're looking for is any structural issues. And then in back of the horizontal stabilizer is what's called the elevator. So looking to ensure the elevator can go up and down properly, and any structural issues. And this piece of gizmo here on the elevator is your pitch trim tab. This is actuated by a wheel situated in the cockpit that's black colored and enables making up and down changes easy. This piece here is what's called the rudder. This is manipulated by your feet with pedals. I always kind of wiggle it like this to make sure it can move freely. And I look for structural issues to give me a reason to be concerned otherwise. Up top here is your navigation antennas, and you can see they're situated V, so you know that they're V-shaped, so you know they're at navigation antennas. You want to make sure they're in place. If you're going flying at night, you want to ensure that your tail lights are operational, but for the purpose of day flying, I make sure they're structurally intact. Now we're inspecting the left elevator, as we did on the right elevator, for proper play and looking for structural issues. We're also inspecting the left horizontal stabilizer for any structural issues. And what I like to do is I like to move it like so and listen for any unusual sounds. It's a personal habit of mine. Then making our way to the left side of the tail. This is also known as your empennage, which also means tail in French. You're looking for structural issues of the tail, and you're looking for any structural issues on the tail cone, which is this piece where my fingers are. And then we're making our way now along the left side of the fuselage. And again, the fuselage is the main structural point. It houses all of your structural points on the airplane. We're looking for any structural issues, such as nicks, gaseous bangs. Chipped paint's not a big deal. Making our way along to ensure that the fuselage is safe and there's no structural issues to be concerned about. And as you saw me inspect on the right side, we inspect the landing flaps. And the reason I inspect the landing flaps on the underside of the wing is so I can see everything working that I need to be working. The tracks look good. And then just like the right side, we have a left fuel sump on this side under the left side of the underside of the left wing that we inspect for fuel continuity. And again, I'm looking for proper color. I'm looking for any contaminants. I don't see any. If there was water in the fuel cup, you would see a raw layer of liquid floating at the bottom of the cup. And again, a personal habit of mine, I smell it because we get our gas from a personal self-service tank at Old Bridge, but sometimes we get fuel elsewhere and we have actual people putting gas in the tanks and they make mistakes. And then moving our way along to the left side of the wing, I inspected the flaps. And now I'm going to inspect this gizmo here called your aileron. So the aileron enables the airplane to turn when we need to in flight, situated by the control yoke. Normally what I would look for is anything making a home in the works, any structural issues of that nature. And then carefully making my way along to the wingtip. I'm looking for any structural issues in the wingtip, and if I was commencing a flight at night, I would inspect the wingtip lights to ensure that they're working properly. Then making our way along to the forward side of the wing, or leading edge of the wing as we call it. I'm looking for structural issues, any mixed gases, something that can tell me I have a problem. And then I make my way around to the front of the airplane. And then behind the wing, I have what's called a fuel tank vent. What I'm inspecting for in the fuel tank vent is one, any leaks. Like you see, there's a slight leak here. It just means that the tank was overfilled. And cracks, which this tank vent looks pretty good. So, and then if I was intending to fly, I would remove this cover. This is a Pitot tube cover. Now your Pitot tube is a port that enables reading for your static instruments to read. That's your airspeed indicator, your vertical speed indicator, and your altimeter. Because we're not going to go flying today, I'm going to keep that on. And we have a place where we store this in the back of the airplane. Moving along to the forward side of the left wing, I inspect the vents. If I was flying in the summer, we have these tapes so cool air does not make way in the cockpit in the cooler months. But I would inspect that if I was going on flying in the summer for any insects or what have you. And then we grab the ladder. We have to inspect the fuel tanks. And on some airplanes, you don't need a ladder. This one you do because the tank is situated up high. So we make our way up here just like so. And then while I'm here, I look for any structural issues along the wing as per my checklist. And then inspect the actual fuel tank itself. And I can see the tank is visually full. Sometimes it won't be full, but we have measuring sticks to measure what is accurately in the tank. So I have adequate fuel for a flight should I commence a flight today. I'll just carefully step down. And then on this Cessna 172, you have foot placing areas right here to maneuver yourself. But if you suffer from acrophobia like me, we have ladders for that reason. And we make our way along the nose here. And this is also called the cowling. So what we're looking for is blockages of our ports. So We have the radio vents taped for a reason, so we don't get cool air in the cockpit. There's your static port, which works in conjunction with the Pitot static port I just checked. We're looking for blockages. We don't want to see anything taped over like this. And then moving along the pilot side of the cowling, we're looking for any loose fasteners. I just kind of feel along with my hand, and I look for any fasteners to vibrate and shake free. Down here is an external power jump port. If you're struggling to get the aircraft started, the battery's weak, you need a jump start, you would unscrew this with a screwdriver, plug in the appropriate voltage plug, and off you go to the races. Then making our way to the front of the airplane, again with the ladder, as I teach all my students. This is the most dangerous part of the airplane normally. I always tell pilots, treat this like it's always hot. This is your propeller, and it's just a big air screw that pulls the aircraft along in flight. And I always feel along the edge of the blade, just like so, for any huge nicks, cracks, things of that nature. And when the aircraft has already been flown, when you put your hands against the edge of the ticks like so, you can tell if you know, you can tell whether or not, you know, the plane's just been flown recently. But if that was the case, I would just have, you know, pilots look at the blades visually, don't touch on the prop if that was the case, just because the propeller could wake up and possibly cause harm to you, which you don't want. But this plane hasn't flown today, and hasn't flown actually since yesterday, so we're good, we're okay here. But you always inspect your engine intakes, the openings right here. What you're looking for is anything making a home, such as a bird or a snake, something of that nature. And then on the right side here, you have an alternator drive belt. I always inspect. It's actually not marked on the checklist, but I always inspect it for continuity, because like cars, these do tear. And then again, on the nose section of the aircraft, you inspect the paneling for your landing light, make sure it's in place, because they do come loose every now and then. And down here is your carburetor or filter panel. I want to make sure that's in place. And then more importantly, you have your front nose wheel, which you inspect for proper continuity. And then you have what's called the nose gear strut and extension, which that's this chrome piece right here. And you want to be able to get 3 fingers and place them in the strut just like so. And if you're a big guy like me, you'll probably barely get 3 fingers in there. And another way you can check that is that you take 2 hands on the propeller, your foot right here, press the nose down like that, and if the nose returns to where it was before, the strut passes your inspection for that part of the checklist. Something not situated on the checklist is the exhaust pipe. I always grab it and shake it like this to ensure that it's on properly. That way I know it's not going to give me any issues in flight. Then we make our way around to the right side of the aircraft. And as you can see, we have an engine block heater plug plugged in, because this aircraft is not intending to fly today, but if we were to fly this, we would take it out. This keeps the oil warm, so we don't have to worry about doing any harm to the motor during a cold start. And we inspect the engine oil, which is situated in this oil cap like so. We take the dipstick out. And we check this before every single flight, because like cars, airplanes do consume oil once in a while. We're looking for a minimum of 4 quarts and a maximum of 6. This engine is sitting right at 4 1/4, so that is adequate for the flight if we were to commence flight today. And we just leave that back in like so. And then on the checklist, we inspect what's called the engine fuel strainer. So I'm going to pull on it, and if you look down below the nose, you'll see a small amount of fuel shooting out of the nose. And the purpose of that is to see if we can dump fuel if need be. So again, moving back along the right side of the nose here, we're looking to ensure that our fasteners are in place. There's no screws popping out. And just like the left side, we have a cooling port for the radios on this side. We have that taped up so you don't get cool air in the cockpit. If you're going flying in the summer, you inspect the upper air vents, but they're taped off in the winter for the purpose of ventilation. And then we inspect the co-pilot side fueling tank. So we maneuver up this way, like so. And again, per the checklist, I inspect the upper surface of the right wing for structural issues. One thing I did note before is that we have communication antennas up top, like so. I want to make sure they're structurally in place. And inspect the fuel tank. And I can visually see fuel, I can feel it too, so both tanks are equally full. So this airplane has 5 hours approximately of fuel legally. Then maneuvering our way along the leading edge of the co-pilot wing, looking for structural issues, things of that nature. Moving along just like so, and then I maneuver to the wing set. And just like the left wing, all I'm checking to see is that I don't have any structural issues. There's no big gashes or bangs. If I was operating at night, I would check to ensure that, again, that the exterior lights are operational. And as you probably know, on this side you have a green for the right for your position lights. On the left side you have a red to indicate that you're approaching the aircraft from the left. Then making my way around to the trailing edge of the wing, I'm inspecting the ailerons for proper play. If I was commencing flight for real, I would check the openings of the works of the aileron to ensure there's nothing making a home in there, nothing hanging out that shouldn't be hanging out, things of that nature. Then maneuvering to the right side flaps, which I've inspected before, but I checked this side twice because I started here. And again, I'm looking for play, structural issues, things of that nature, anything making a home in the openings. Then I inspect the right side tire for, proper continuity. It looks inflated. Then we have disc brakes situated in the back. Then we have one on the left side too that we check for the same thing. Tire continuity, brake disc, and the brake lines for any leaks of that nature. And then what I normally would do is, if I was intending to commence flight for real, I would do one physical walk around the airplane after I completed my walk around inspection to make sure I didn't miss anything in general. So that is how we go around a proper walk around inspection. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more videos in the future.